Welcome into 6 must-start players for Week 7 of fantasy football. I'm your host, Josh, here, joined by Alec. As always, Alec, we're here with Week 7, and there's a lot of stuff going on right here. We've got people coming back from suspensions. We have a lot of injuries, especially at the receiver position. I just know just in the last couple weeks, right, we've had Garrett Wilson goes down with an injury, Puka Nacua goes down with an injury, Emeka Egbuka goes down with an injury. Try to say that 5 times fast. All 3 of those this Sunday, right? So a lot of injuries happening, so maybe you have to go a little bit deeper into your bench and get some guys here. But we have 6 guys that you need to be starting for fantasy football. I'll go ahead and turn it over to you here, Alec, right away for your first guy.
Yeah, so I'm riding the lightning. I'm kind of keeping this guy on the front burner here. I think he's going to have a really big week this week. I'm going Rico Dowdle here. He had a massive week last week. I know, we actually didn't pick him last week, which looking back on it should have been a smash. Facing his former team, he had over 200 yards, but another great matchup this week against the Jets. The Jets are really struggling. I don't think Chuba Hubbard's going to be back this week for the Panthers. This is kind of an asterisk on there where it's like, if Chuba's playing, I probably wouldn't play Rico. But if Rico Dowdle is in a backfield this week without Chuba Hubbard back, I think he's probably a top 10 play this week.
Yeah. I mean, I would agree. I mean, what we've seen, not only Dowdle in the rushing game, I think the passing, he's shown great receiving work as well. And then also just the fact, I mean, last week he had 30 carries. If you're giving any running back 30 carries in a game, you have to be playing them. I don't care if it's you or I. Well, maybe not you or I, but you know what I'm saying? I mean, I don't care if it is the worst running back in the league. If it's Deuce Vaughn, if you're giving Deuce Vaughn, who wouldn't survive 30 carries, but if you told me he would, if you're giving him 30 carries, I'm going to start him. You have to, just out of sheer volume. So no, I absolutely love it. Dowdle, I would expect he's at the maybe tail end of his Jay Ajayi run here. But I would agree. This is week 3, but it still has to be. He has to be playing right now.
Yeah,
But
I totally agree.
yeah, over to my first guy here. This is a guy that I've been waiting, and this is the only week that we will get him on here because after this week, it is going to be a smash play. But I wanted to get him on here because I'm looking at in the leagues that I have him, his projection is very low. So if you're looking at his projection, don't look at his projection. Put him in over guys that are projected more points than him. And it's Rashee Rice up against the Las Vegas Raiders here. Rashee Rice, I know I'm in a half PPR league. He's projected like 8 points. In a full PPR league, he was projected like 12. And this is going to continue to go up. We're recording this on Tuesday night. I wouldn't be surprised if he's projected in a full PPR 17 at the end of before the game starts. You need to be playing Rashee Rice. This Chiefs team is in desperate need for an elite receiver that can create after the catch and be just consistent, right? I mean, Xavier Worthy has been the wide receiver 1 for them, right? You would say when he's healthy against the Lions this week or last week, I think he had 1 catch, maybe 2 catches. So yeah, I think 2 catches. So they are in desperate need. This offense needs somebody to step up, and Rashee Rice has been, will be, and always will be in the future the guy. He was the wide receiver 2 last year through the first 3 games, and he tore his ACL. But because of this 6-game suspension, he is absolutely 110% coming back. It's not something like a Chris Godwin where when he does come back, are we getting 100% of him? I don't know. Maybe he rushed back. No, because of the suspension, Rashee Rice has been ready to play for weeks. He's itching to play. I wouldn't be surprised if he puts up double-digit targets in his first game back here. I absolutely love Rashee Rice here.
Yeah, it's kind of what we've been waiting for 6 weeks is to finally put Rashee Rice back in the your flex spot, which is basically like what he's going to probably walk into on a lot of teams. Rashee Rice is going to smash this week. Please play him.
Yes. The projection. The only reason I even thought about including him in here is because of the projections. Because in several leagues I'm in, I have Cortland Sutton's projected more points than Rashee Rice. And don't get me wrong, I like Cortland Sutton's matchup this week too. You have to be playing Rashee Rice over Cortland Sutton for the rest of the year. So that's the only reason I even included him in this, and he will not be on the show for the rest of the year because he's going to enter into the no shit, Josh, I'm going to start him category.
Yeah, so another guy that I think will eventually get there this year, I'm about to talk about right now, it's going to be Quinshon Judkins for the Browns. Last week, his snap share went down like 40 percentage points difference between the week before when they played the Vikings and then last week when they played the Steelers. they were down the entire game this past week. So it was a lot of Jerome Ford and Dylan Sampson kind of trying to be that receiving back. I mean, Dylan Gabriel threw the ball over 50 times, which is insane. They I just don't see that. They didn't have a lot of success doing that. I mean, they still didn't score a lot of points.
Mhm.
So I think they're going to lean heavily. This matchup this week is insane for Judkins. They play Miami. Miami is giving up the most rushing yards in the NFL this year. Judkins is, I know this might be a hyperbole, but Judkins might be like a top 6 or 7 running back this week, like option wise.
It sounds crazy, but when you're up against a defense that's giving up 5.6 yards per carry, I mean, you said most rushing yards in the league in yards per carry, it's atrocious too. So it's not like you've had a couple games where we mentioned Dowdle getting 30 carries, where you're having teams just run it on you 38 times because of game script and you are giving up a lot of yards. You're getting peppered every single time they carry the ball. In this Browns team, that's their MO, right? And with Dylan Gabriel, if you're going to try to win a game with Dylan Gabriel at quarterback, it is not to go out there and let him sling the ball 50 times. I can promise you that. So, no, I love Judkins this week. I know we talked about it earlier. If there's one matchup that you were to say, this guy is going to absolutely smash his rushing yards line or his fantasy projection, this is it, right? And this is not a sports betting show, though. This is fantasy football show. But he is going to smash his projection. I don't know what he's projected, but he's going to smash it. He's going to run for 100 plus on a touchdown, and I feel very confident in that because
Yeah.
this Miami Dolphins defense has shown me absolutely nothing to think that he's not going to.
Yeah, and we were kind of all over the Chargers backfield last week too, where it's like just trust the matchup. All
Mhm.
you have to do in these is if you're looking for a flex option, which Judkins probably is for you, or maybe an RB2, just you have to follow the matchups, especially with somebody like this. And he's got enough talent where he ran for over 110 yards against the Vikings. So if
Mhm.
they can do that against the Vikings, what are they going to do against the Dolphins?
Yeah, and this is something we talked about too last week. Kind of my final comment on Judkins is he was in a stretch of games that was super difficult, right? He went Green Bay, Detroit, Minnesota, Pittsburgh. Those are 4 of the top probably 10 or 12 rushing defenses in the entire league. And now you get statistically the 3rd worst, I think, in yards per carry, in the worst in yards per game. This is a smash matchup for him, who's been his entire NFL career, right? His 4-game NFL career for the most part has been against very, very difficult defenses. Now you're getting your game against Tarleton State, right? Or that where you can
Yeah,
just
yeah.
absolutely run all over them and you're running through truck size holes. And when you meet a linebacker in the hole, he just can't tackle you. And you know that. Obviously, it's not going to be as bad as like in Ohio State against Tarleton State, right? That's an exaggeration. But this is going to be a bloodbath on the ground. Will the Browns win the game? I don't know. A bloodbath on the ground, though, for sure. Judkins is going to go off. Um, Over to my second guy here. This is a guy that you definitely drafted thinking he was going to be in the category of, yeah, he's not leaving my starting lineup all year. If you're anything like me, you benched him last week. And it was Lad McConkey. I benched him last week and actually was coming back from a trip from Nashville and fell asleep before the 1 p.m. games. Did not see that Johnston was out, and kept Lad McConkey on my bench. But I'm not making the mistake this week. Lad McConkey is a guy that you have to be starting this week. I have maybe no Johnston, right? In my notes here, maybe no Johnston. We don't know yet. If Johnston plays, I still like Lad McConkey because of the matchup here. You're going up against Indianapolis's defense, who has given up 300 plus passing yards in 2 of their last 3. They gave up 320 to Jacoby Brissett. So in this Arizona Cardinals passing attack, which had looked very, very, very bad, right? So let's think about that too. But I think that when you put Lad in this matchup, he's got 7 targets, 9 targets in his last 2 games, a touchdown in each of them. I really, really like the progression that he's shown this year, right? Obviously, QJ had a couple of huge plays, huge touchdowns. And I think that's kind of part of why Lad was having a struggle earlier in the year is when you're hitting on these 60-yard touchdowns, it makes it very difficult for the rest of your arsenal to produce, right? If it's a 3-play touchdown drive, you're 3 guys to touch the ball that drive. And if Lad wasn't one of them, which likely the way the Chargers play, it was maybe a run pass, then it's very, very difficult to score well. And I think that with no Johnston here, it's if Johnston does not play, Lad McConkey absolutely smash start. If he plays, I still think you need to start him. I also think that the combination between Indianapolis's rough passing defense right now and their solid rushing defense is kind of going to play into the favor here of Vlad McConkey. Not a real rushing attack that the Chargers have, right? I know you have Vidal, you have Haskins, and it looks like Vidal pretty much won the job last week. But I think they're going to throw the ball significantly more than what you would expect out of the Chargers. And given that, I really like Vlad to go double-digit targets and probably break that 80 to 100-yard mark. I really, really like him this week. Even though he's burnt you earlier, I think you have to start him.
Yeah, and I think he's actually when QJ's out, he's kind of become like their go-to target in the red zone. And it's kind of weird because he's kind of small, but he kind of gives you like that Julian Edelman vibe where, and I'm not saying it just because he's a white slot receiver, but like kind of that vibe where he just knows how to get open in tight areas, especially in the red zone. And I think it's kind of like when you watch Josh Downs, like when you watch Josh
Yep.
Downs on film, he's kind of smaller, but he's always open.
Mhm.
Vlad McConkey's always open. Sometimes he doesn't get the ball thrown to him, but he's always open. So
Mhm.
I love Lad this week, and it's kind of like feels like Lad and Keenan Allen are kind of switching back and forth on like those intermediate throws on who Justin Herbert throws to. But if QJ's out, Lad's going to definitely get 10 targets this week. So I love this play.
Yeah, absolutely. Over to you for your third and final play here.
Yeah, so I'm going to go Bill Croskey-Merritt here. I know we were all super hyped that Bill was going to be in prime time this past week, but I know he had that early fumble. But the great news for all of us that have Bill Croskey-Merritt, they stuck with him. They
Yep.
did not turn away from him after he fumbled. I was terrified. I needed like 3 points from him, and he fumbled. And I was like, "Oh no, he's going to get benched." But
Mhm.
no, they stuck with him. And the matchup this week is fantastic. It's Dallas. This is a big bounce back week for him. And are we getting Brady on the call? We getting Brady on the call at 4 in like the afternoon slate?
I don't know, but if Brady's on the call across
Yeah,
from it's going off.
that's what I'm saying. He has to talk to Tom. He has to talk to Tom again on TV. So you might see a big performance from Bill if this game's actually going to be on Fox with Brady.
Yeah, no, I absolutely love it. And I like you said, the matchup's great here against the Cowboys, whose defense has been rough all year, right? I mean, there's talks about, firing their defensive coordinator. So this defense has been rough all year. And I think that this Washington rushing attack, like what you said, when he fumbled, it was okay, here it is. This is the guy that you talked about earlier in the season when you said, yes, he's electric, but we've got to figure out how, he's got to get better when he doesn't have the ball in his hands. Uh, you know, it's the classic rookie move. Maybe you're not great in pass pro, limits you to not getting as many snaps earlier in the year. All of a sudden you get your snaps, then you fumble, and it's like, okay, kiss those touches goodbye. Fortunately, what he has going in his favor is there's nobody else to give carries to.
Yeah, literally. I was gonna say they traded Ryan Robinson away and Austin Eckler tore his Achilles. So literally, it's him, Chris Rodriguez, and Jeremy
McNichols.
McNichols. So yeah,
Yeah.
so it's just like there's nothing left. So he
No.
has to get the touches.
Yes, and it's very promising. So I would expect a bounce back week. I would also expect maybe a little bit more in the passing game, but overall, this Washington offense had a rough week in general, I think, especially on the ground. Jaden Daniels did not run as well as he typically does either. So I would expect Croskey-Merritt to have a bounce back week next week, and I love the matchup against the Cowboys too. One final matchup that I absolutely love, and this is the sixth and final player of the show here, is got to be Davante Adams against Jacksonville here. This is setting up to be one of the most smash plays of the year, in my opinion, because you're getting a Jacksonville defense secondary that is awful. They just gave up 162 yards to JSN. They gave up 300 yards to Sam Darnold in the Seahawks passing offense, which all year has really just been JSN and company. They gave up 130 yards to non-JSN receivers. I mean, running backs, tight ends there, but 130 passing yards to non-JSN players. And it's spectacular. Also, the fact you gave up 162 to JSN tells me the star player can pop off as well. It's not just supporting cast. So given that, everything I've just said there, Puka is probably not going to play. You're giving me the wide receiver one in a Matthew Stafford-led offense against a very bad secondary. I only need 2 of those to start a player. If you gave me a wide receiver one against Jacksonville secondary, I like it. If you gave me the wide receiver one with Matthew Stafford as my quarterback, I like it. You're giving me all 3 of them. I absolutely love it here. I wouldn't be surprised if Davante Adams goes for 20-plus points this week. I would actually almost expect that if Puka doesn't play.
Oh, if Puka doesn't play, Davante Adams is going to get at least 11, 12 targets.
Yeah.
And it's from Matt Stafford. They're on fire right now. I know the game's in London, but they have their bye week next week, so it probably wouldn't be surprising if Puka didn't play. But
Mhm.
I think they're emptying the ammo this week, going all in and just saying, hey, listen, we're going to get to the bye week. We're going to do everything we can to win this game. And if you're trying to, and I know you try to win every week, but it's just, to kind of get into the bye week with some positive momentum,
Mhm.
they're going to target Davante if Puka's not playing at least minimum 11, 12 times.
And anytime you're giving me 11, 12 targets against Jacksonville secondary, please sign me up.
And Davante's still elite. Like
Yes.
he's still very, very, very good.
Yes. And that was one of my final points too, is just because he's been playing wide receiver 2 behind Puka, and who's, I believe, coming into this week was wide receiver 1 overall. So that's an understandable reason to maybe not be producing, because you have, at the time, the best receiver statistically in the NFL is ahead of you. When you take that away, the Rams offense doesn't just stop throwing the ball. They just find alternative options. Davante will be the clear alternative one, and is still absolutely elite. He has been great when he needs to be. When he's gotten his number called this year, he's been great so far. So I
Yeah.
fully expect. I don't read too much into this Baltimore game, because that was such just a crummy, game. You're tied at halftime. You're playing against a Baltimore team that's just not good right
They're
now. It
terrible.
was
I
it
mean,
was just weird.
dude, yeah.
And then you ran the ball well in the second half, and I think it was one where it's an ugly game. If you can run the ball and win, you're going to run the ball and win. I don't think you're going to be able, not that you're not going to be able to do that against Jacksonville. I think the Jacksonville game is just going to be a little bit more free flowing, if you will.
Yeah, no, and I totally agree. And don't get this twisted. Kind of like you said, Davante is a wide receiver 1 on like 20 NFL teams.
Yes.
Like in a clear cut alpha over like some pretty good other players.
Yes.
So, I mean, we saw him even last year. He was pretty clear cut number 1 over Garrett Wilson, and Garrett Wilson's, in the borderline elite territory now too.
Yeah. Yeah. Not with his current quarterback situation, but if he had
Yeah.
anybody at quarterback, yes.
You or me, maybe. Actually, I'm being
Yeah.
serious.
Actually, maybe you. I can't claim that, but the elite college quarterback that we have on the show here, yes, absolutely. You could probably
Elite's a strong term, but yeah,
elite's it's a term for sure.
it's a term. It's not the correct term, but it is a term. You did say it. So yeah,
We're gonna have so many people looking up Alec Grandin's stats right now.
it's not good.
I don't know if we had ever shared your last name, so now your last name is officially out there.
That's
And
fair.
yeah, I expect the Instagram followers to start pouring in. But
Yeah,
okay,
I'm private.
yeah, good. That's good. Those are 6 guys here that we think you absolutely need to be starting this week. I really, really like all 6 of these guys. I think we have, sometimes we'll go down to 4 or 5 guys because there's just not great matchups this week. This is when we probably could have done 8, because there are so many good matchups. And what that let us do is it boiled us down to 6 guys that are great matchups you have to be starting. So if you guys have any situations where you have to start 2 of our 6 guys and you have maybe 3 or 4 of them on your team, 1, congratulations, you're probably going to win. 2, I would love to see the comments and see who you're debating between. But other than that, this has been the Sports Geeks podcast. They play, we talk. Thanks for watching, guys. Peace.